questions that keep people waiting versus doing. Also, lack of clarity causes an automatic lack of alignment that results in skepticism, weak support, or passive-aggressive tendencies in the ranks. Another issue is resource stall. Agreements about what should be started and what should be stopped are not clear or even attempted. Resources stay attached, often fiercely so, to the current way of doing things. So it's virtually impossible to do new or different stuff. And finally, organizational angst. There's no such thing as a perfect organization, but there are also some fatal flaws that will prevent forward progress. When you have the wrong people in key roles, or a structure that is competing against itself, you will stall. Or when you have groups or programs that are just not functioning properly, you burn huge amounts of time and energy recovering from work that should have been done better or differently or faster. Why I wrote Move. I personally find it very frustrating when organizations fail to progress, and I want to help. There are answers to these chronic systemic issues that stall forward progress, practical answers, and doable things. Strategic investments actually can pay off. But the organizations that make their strategies successful do some specific things on purpose to accomplish it. I always seem to have a knack for stepping into stalled organizations and getting them moving forward or turning them around. As a CEO and general manager, I've always had an ability for getting teams focused on what really matters, driving lasting change, and engaging people to join in and go with me. In my own career, I have executed turnarounds that most didn't expect to succeed. I've transformed organizations whose morale started in the dumps. I've built several successful and highly motivated management teams, and I've defined and successfully implemented new business strategies. Through these experiences and, more recently, advising many other client organizations on implementing their business strategies, I've developed a very practical view of what makes strategies stall and what makes them go. In Move, I will share that formula for how you can get your whole organization to decisively advance your strategy. First, I want to share a note about change versus transformation. There is much written about leading and managing change and getting through transitions, getting people emotionally bought in, motivated, and ready to change. In Move, I go beyond the initial change and focus on what it takes to make a transformation really stick after you start the change, for the whole time required to make it happen. But for a moment, let's review what is important about the initial change process. There is a change equation. Much of the wisdom about motivating an organization to change is referred to in the Formula for Change, created by Richard Beckard and David Gleicher in 1969, and then refined and popularized by Kathy Dannemiller in the early 1990s. It's sometimes called Gleicher's formula. If you haven't seen it, this is really useful stuff. It's an equation, and on the left side of the equation are three factors, which are multiplied together. On the right side of the equation is resistance to change. And what this formula is about is that the three things on the left, the product of them, have to be greater than your organization's resistance to change. So let's look at what those three things are. Number one is dissatisfaction with the current state. Number two is vision of the future. And number three is the first concrete steps to get there. Basically,